The gentleman from Guilford, Representative Hardister, is recognized to send forth a representative statement that will be read upon adjournment and spread upon the journal at that time. And the gentleman has the floor to speak to a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, members. This representative statement pertains to Rett Syndrome. And if you take a look at it later on, once it's read into the journal, what it does is it reaffirms that we observe Rett Syndrome in October. So you might wonder, why are we reading this representative statement now? Well, that's because by the grace of God, we're hoping that we'll be adjourned and at home in October. But I did want to take a moment to talk to you about Rett Syndrome. Many of you probably heard about it. I know the medical providers are serving this body, very familiar with it. It's a very difficult disease that strikes predominantly females, and it's rare. It's actually a relatively rare condition that occurs in 1 out of 15,000 females. Very rare among boys. It's a genetic disorder. It's a neurological disorder that occurs almost exclusively in girls and leads to severe impairments affecting every aspect of the child's life. It affects their ability to speak, to walk, to eat, and even to breathe. The hallmark of Rett syndrome is constant, repetitive hand movement, and this condition exacerbates over time. Most infants with Rett syndrome seem to develop the condition within the first year of their life, and typically the first 6 months of their life they develop as you'd expect, but then after that the symptoms appear, and then not too long after that there'll typically be a diagnosis. Unfortunately, there's no cure for this condition, and as I mentioned before, it affects virtually every aspect of the child's life. They lose skills that they otherwise would have, such as the ability to crawl, to walk, or communicate, the things that a lot of us, we don't intend to, but fairly often we might take for granted. You might wonder why I'm standing before you today with this statement, and that's because I have 3 constituents that I'm aware of who have Rett syndrome, and 2 of those are the daughters of 2 individuals that I went to high school with, that I graduated, in fact, within my graduating class. So what are the odds of that? I mean, this is a condition that strikes 1 out of 15,000 females in the United States. It's estimated that, looks like at the present time, it's probably not more than 350,000 worldwide have this condition that we know of. So it's not a very common condition. But it does happen. And so I have 2 friends I went to high school with. One of those is Anson Hall, and he's married to his wife Keisha. They have a daughter with Rett syndrome, and her name is Mia Hall. And the other constituent is Josie Trippodo, and her husband Joe. They have a daughter. Her name's Charlie Trippodo. She has Rett syndrome. And so, and the good news with this is, folks, that medical science is advancing every single day, and there's clinical trials that are showing promising results that are showing forms of efficacy. And I'd like to give a shout out to all the medical professionals and scientists out there who are working to find a cure for this condition. There are treatments. Treatments involve anything from physical therapy to speech therapy, occupational therapy. There's some pharmaceuticals that can help, dietary supplements and things like that. So there are some therapies, but no cure. But I'm confident that we will one day find a cure for this condition. So there is hope, and that's really important. There's hope that treatments will advance. There's hope that we'll find a cure. And there's hope for each and every child who's living with this condition. And finally, I'll remind you that when we observe Rett syndrome in October, that the color is purple. Now, I would have worn a purple tie today, but I checked in my wardrobe and I didn't have one, so I'm going to have to go shopping for that. Or I could maybe ask Representative Hanig or Representative McNeely for some fashion advice, and I think Representative McNeely actually has a purple bow tie on, so you're kind of making up for that, which I appreciate. So I just want to, again, send my well wishes and best thoughts to all the families out there, to certainly the constituents of mine who live in Guilford County, but to all the families across North Carolina and across the United States who are impacted by this condition. I'm confident that there will be a cure one day. And Mr. Speaker, if it's in order, I do have constituents here today that I would like for you to recognize if that would be in order. Thank you very much.
Members, on motion of Representative Hardister, the chair is pleased to extend the courtesies of the gallery to a number of special guests with us. First off, we're here with Hope Valdez, who is a very special young lady who has been diagnosed with Rett Syndrome. She's accompanied by her parents, Jason and Teresa Valdez. She's also accompanied by her grandparents, James and Teresa Gentry, Mary McCann, and Michael Boyer. Family friend Sandra Payne is also in the gallery with them. Would you please join me in welcoming these special guests with us today? We're honored to have you with us, and we certainly wish you all nothing but the best. Thank you for being with us. Members, all